Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. When you have young children, you end up watching movies that you might not otherwise see. When my children were young, we became experts on many movies, especially Aladdin and 101 Dalmatians, which were some favorites that we must have seen 1,000 times each. About that time, in the early days of computer graphics, they put out a movie about Casper the Friendly Ghost using real actors and computer-generated ghosts on the screen. Let me just say that it didn't win any awards, and I don't really encourage you to go out and find it to watch. However, I do remember one scene vividly, perhaps because of what we will talk about today. If you remember the story of Casper at all, you might know that while Casper is a friendly ghost and often seeks to do good for other people, he also has some brothers who are ghosts, and they are far less restrained in their ghostly behavior. They do whatever they want and don't care if it frightens others or what consequences their actions may have. In the scene I remember, these brothers came upon a feast on a table, ready to be served, and they proceed to gorge themselves on all the food on the table, chowing down on turkey legs and vegetables and desserts. But here's the thing. Since ghosts don't have bodies, after they swallow the food, it simply fell on the floor beneath them. Last week and this week we are exploring some of the things Jesus said after his resurrection. I have postulated for these morning moments that Jesus' words after his resurrection have a special significance that we should pay attention to, something somehow a bit more than the words he spoke before his resurrection. Those words are important too, but these words are now spoken as our victorious Lord, and so they may deserve special attention. Today we are looking at one of his resurrection appearances to his disciples, this time from the Gospel of Luke, and in this one Jesus asked them, "Have you anything here to eat?" Now, frankly, one of the major points of Jesus asking that was to prove to them that he wasn't a ghost. He had already shown them his hands and his feet and invited them to touch him. Then he offered one more proof and asked for something to eat. The Casper movie got that part right. Ghosts can't eat. And so if Jesus were a ghost, the fish they gave him would simply fall to the floor beneath him. But it doesn't. The resurrected Jesus isn't just a spirit or a ghost. He has a body, a physical presence. It wasn't just Jesus' spirit that rose. Jesus' body did as well. It meant that the resurrection was real. And even though this is vitally important, proving the resurrection was real, Jesus may also have been doing even more with this simple request. You see, just before he appears to his disciples in this gospel, Jesus had appeared to two of his followers on the road to Emmaus. Those followers didn't recognize Jesus, even though he spoke to them about how the scriptures pointed to his death and resurrection. They invited him to share a meal, and when he broke the bread, their eyes were opened and they realized that it was Jesus. Suddenly, Jesus was gone. Now, putting those two stories together, you have the risen Jesus in a story with bread, followed by a story with the risen Jesus and fish. You have to be reminded of the story of the loaves and fishes when Jesus fed the 5,000 with the little boy's sack lunch. The feeding of the 5,000 has ties backwards to Old Testament stories, particularly to manna and to Elisha, and points forward to the communion meal Jesus institutes in the Last Supper. Here, when Jesus asks for something to eat, he was reminding them of all of that. Secondly, we have the story of Jairus' daughter. You may remember that too, how Jairus' daughter was ill, and Jairus asked Jesus to come heal her, but by the time he got there, she had died. Jesus drove out the mourners, took the girl by the hand, and told her, "Little girl, get up." And she did. Jesus gave her to her parents and told them to give her something to eat. Again, it was a sign of real life, not just a spirit who was there. Most of us prefer to eat with other people and not eat alone. Meals together are times of community, fellowship, and meaningful relationship and joy. And maybe that's part of why Jesus eats here too. He is back with his closest friends, and they are with him once again. That renewed relationship, that joy and community is rekindled over food, just like it is when we share that meal with Jesus at worship every Sunday. We are community with Jesus and together. It's important. Have you anything here to eat? Yes. Come to the feast of the Lord. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.